Welcome back to Demigod Debut. I'm Mal, New York City geography fact checker and longtime Percy Jackson fan.
And I'm Julie, Percy Jackson newbie and Rick Riordan hater after these 2 chapters.
Oh.
Yeah, knew that one was coming. And this is a podcast about Julie reading The Last Olympian for the first time. And we are once again joined by our good friend Laura.
Yay!
Woo. Thanks for having me.
Hello, welcome back.
So nice to be back.
Yeah, so new introduction question, because I don't think I've asked you this.
Okay.
But do you have a favorite Percy Jackson universe character?
Obviously I really like Annabeth, but when I was growing up, I went to golf camp and I met this girl named Annabeth and she was really mean, so that kind of turned me off.
Okay, you also knew an Annabeth in real life? I knew an Annabeth in real life. I'm the only person I know who knew an Annabeth.
Yeah, this girl was mean for no reason. And I was like, we're at golf camp. Why are you... We are on the same level. Stop. Yeah, anyway, I think also I like the animals more. Like the thing that Tyson rides in the
The
Sea of
hippocampus?
Monsters. Yeah, the
Yeah.
hippocampus I like. Rainbow? Is
Yeah.
that... Ooh, gay. All right. I think I would have to say that for now.
I love that. What a great answer.
I could have prepped more, but also like this is a good segue into the fact that I haven't read these since I first read them in middle school, and so I'm like a little bit lost in the sauce.
Oh.
But I'm having a good
So
time.
you just like...
Yeah, it's okay.
Just went straight for these 2 chapters and had to kind of like piece everything together.
Yeah, I don't have time to read all 5 books again right now, but
Right, no, that makes sense.
No, but I do want to, especially after reading these 2. I was like, oh, this is like epic. Like, I gotta get back into this.
Well, I was gonna text you and be like, if you know who the spy is, at this point you were not allowed to say anything, because Julie still doesn't know, but I don't know if you remember.
Wait.
But don't say anything out loud.
Wait, I thought maybe you had already read that
No.
about who the spy was. Okay, so you'll have to give me context on what the spy situation is. It seems a lot of people are having dreams.
A lot of people are having dreams. So with the spy, there's like a charm bracelet that Kronos and some unknown camper are using to communicate. And yeah, they're like passing information back and forth.
And Kronos is in Luke's body, is that correct?
Yes, okay. Kronos is in Luke's body.
Freaky, okay.
Luke Kronos, as Mal calls him.
Because otherwise then I forget that he like looks like Luke, because I'm picturing something else in my head. I'm picturing like,
yeah, a monster, right?
Yeah.
Not just some blonde teenager.
Yeah. All right, so chapter 15, Chiron throws a party. Where we last left off, Percy had just defeated the flying pig. Before that, we were turning Hyperion into a tree at the Central Park Reservoir. Iconic all around. And that's kind of... We've just been battling. There's just been battles. It is a war. So I can't remember if this is a thing that I said back in like an episode in Sea of Monsters, but when we first meet the Party Ponies, the chapter that they're introduced in is called The Party Ponies Invade. And I remember thinking, I thought that the chapter was like snappier than that. I thought it was a better chapter title. And I remember specifically thinking like, it should be called Chiron Throws a Party. That's so much more fun. I was just simply thinking of the chapter in this book. So I don't know if I actually said it in an episode or if I figured that out myself before I said it. But I'm like, if I did say it, my apologies. You
just had to be patient.
I was simply thinking of the wrong book. But I will say that I think it would have worked better in Sea of Monsters because you wouldn't have had the context for it. So you would have been like, why is Chiron throwing a party? But for this, it's like, it's very obvious. Like, Chiron throws a party. Okay, the Party Ponies are coming.
What kind of expert are you if you couldn't even remember what book that chapter was in?
I'm sorry. There are 23 chapter titles in this book alone. Multiply that by 5 books. That's a lot of chapter titles. Anyway, so every part of the beginning of this chapter really stresses me out. So we've got the Kronos army everywhere, and based on the locations Percy's giving, it's like the fighting is happening between 50th and 33rd Streets, and between 6th Ave and Park Ave. So that's like 17 blocks north to south, and then like 3 blocks east to west. That's a giant space
Oh,
of
I was gonna say that's really small.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's really concentrated.
But so few campers.
What?
Yeah, you haven't been here for our stress over the number of campers that there are because they started the book with 40 campers and 30 hunters, and that was like our entire battle force.
Whoa, that's really small.
So this is a very large area for like 70 kids to have to cover. And that's not even counting the ones that we already know have died
True.
or are too injured to fight, you know? So
What I was thinking though is like it's not some big open field though. Like there's buildings obviously in the way, so it's not
that's
like
true.
it's
Yes.
like where those buildings are not fightable surfaces, I guess. They have to run around them like a
Mhm.
maze. So
That's true.
that to me makes it a lot smaller. I also think like compared to the actual size of Manhattan, which already is very small, this is a very small subsection.
But see, when you're a bunch of kids on foot,
But you're like half kid, half god. Like this is
but that doesn't make you good at walking distances.
it should.
Anyway, point being, I'm just very stressed all the time about this battle,
Mhm.
and I like know what's gonna happen, so it's fine. So Percy kind of describes all of our battles happening. There's like the hunters with the defensive line on 37th, nature spirits in the Demeter cabin making a jungle on 6th Avenue. Also, I think I was wrong originally about the number of Hephaestus campers that I thought that there were because originally I was like, there can't be more than four because in the Lightning Thief, Percy says that there are four of them, and camp camp numbers have not been increasing; they have been decreasing. So I'm like, why would the Hephaestus cabin grow? Like, I feel
Mhm.
like that was a reasonable assumption to make. But then Percy's like, oh, there's three Hephaestus campers that are here fighting Dracane in Rockefeller Center, and then you've got Jake Mason and some of his siblings who are then also fighting somewhere else. And so then I'm like, okay, so we have to have at least six in order to make all that happen. So like, I guess there's more Hephaestus campers.
Or it's like they could have been alive and just not brought to camp yet.
Right, that's true. I don't know. All the other cabins have
Dwindled. Yeah.
yeah. So I was like,
Well,
why would
yeah.
they grow? I don't
Mhm.
know. I stand by the assumption that I made, but I will have to revisit my math at a later time.
Mhm. Yes. I totally forgot about all the geographic references. I'm like, wow, that is chaotic. If I had
Yeah.
to, like, on a normal day, those places are
Mhm.
so packed.
But
And,
all the
like,
mortals are asleep.
I
So
know, yes, but they're not gone. They're, like,
In the way.
in the way, right? Like,
true. Yeah.
yeah. So imagine walking past, like, Rockefeller Center on Fifth Avenue. Like, there's bodies everywhere, and you can't even tell who's alive and immortal and who's, like, dead.
God.
Like, that's hard, right? I
What
mean,
a
whatever.
horrifying thing to say.
Yeah. When I read this book the first time, the biggest thing I remember is like people were dying all over the place. So I'm really glad that these two chapters are the ones that I ended up with because this is like what I remember.
Yeah, you're like, this is what this book is. And it kind of is what this book is.
It is. I remember finishing it and being like, that was, oh my God. Like, I didn't know that you could write a novel that felt so intense and action packed. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had read mystery books that felt intense, like Agatha Christie, but stuff like her writing doesn't feel fast.
Mhm.
It doesn't feel like I'm in the middle of a battle. Like I think Rick, sorry, Julie. I think Rick does a really good job of writing this. I don't
He
know.
killed my girl.
Not yet, he didn't. She's just dying.
Yeah, we're on chapter 15. Yeah.
Yeah, no. We could still fix it. Okay, so anyway, we're just a bunch of battles
Yeah.
happening in Midtown.
Hmm.
And Percy kind of looks at all these battles, and which one does he decide to jump in and help with? Annabeth's, of course.
Mhm.
Of course.
And he says that she's at the southeast corner of the fight, which is like 33rd and Park. And so I have another New York geography rabbit hole to get down because I don't know how long Percy was fighting the pig in the last chapter, but 33rd and Park is like 3 miles from the Central Park Reservoir, which is the last place we saw Annabeth and the Athena cabin. So
Hold on. Which part of the reservoir were they at, though? Because it's a circle.
I'm just going, they were at the south end, but
Yeah.
they could
Okay,
have
so
been
this,
anywhere.
okay.
They had started on the south end. But so I'm just like, how did they get there so fast? How were they able to go 3 miles?
Wait, where are you getting 3 miles?
Google Maps.
Oh.
I looked up how long it would take to walk from...
He was flying.
He's not the one I have a gripe with. I have a gripe with Annabeth and the Athena cabin, because
My girl.
they don't have enough Pegasi to get all of them there, I
You
don't
can
think.
share, right?
I don't know, maybe they had a Pegasus.
I mean, they're siblings. They can get on the same horse, right?
Oh, I got an idea. So, you know how on the south part
Yeah.
of the reservoir you've got like the bridle path and there's a bunch of cop
Yes.
cars parked there? The Athena cabin stole the cop cars.
I love that idea.
Yes, they took cop cars.
I think that could work. The issue is that all the mortals are still in the street in their cars, right? So, like, how are they going to get past all of them?
Very true. There are some parked there that are more like, I don't even know what you would call these little vehicles, but they have like one wheel in the front and they're like enclosed,
A
but
moped?
no, they're not mopeds. Yeah, they're like
Oh,
small.
I
Those
know what you're
guys,
talking
maybe
about,
those
yeah.
guys.
Maybe, but then you can't fit that many of them in there.
Yeah, but I mean, there's also not that many of them because there were only 40 kids to start with, so they're like
Right.
can't be more than like 6 or 7 Athena kids. So
Mhm.
you take a couple of the little carts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
But yes, because I'm like, the idea of Annabeth Chase hot wiring a cop car is very special and important to me now that I have thought of it. So
Well, the keys are probably in there.
that is, yes, the keys also might be in there.
Or if the driver is still in the vehicle, they just take the
That's
driver out
true.
and leave the key in.
You're
Yeah.
just like removing people.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. I also noticed that this chapter had a ton of onomatopoeia, which is like not something I've thought about in years. But I didn't know if it was just because I was reading the British version, but a lot of this stuff I was like, how did he even come up with the sound for that?
Yeah, one thing about Rick is he's good at coming up with kind of imaginative sounds, I think.
Like wow, WAAAAH.
Well, that's just like a scream. Wah!
Right, but it's like a funny scream. I don't think it's supposed to be funny. Right? And then a wee, WHEEEEEE. Right? And then there's the ack, ACKK.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, how am I supposed to read this? Like, it's a war zone, like, and it's not funny. Like, I don't know.
The thing about it is that it is kind of funny. Like, even at the most dark parts, it never is dark for that long. We will be sad, we will sit in our sadness, and then we will make a stupid joke pretty quickly after. Like, it's just, we keep the ball rolling. And so I think
That makes
there's
sense.
a lot of
Yeah.
that kind of fun humor. Like, for example, I'm a big fan of when Percy like joins the fight with Annabeth and she shouts like, "Hey, ugly," and he's like, "Wow, I really hope she's talking to the giant, not me."
Yeah.
Classic. Okay, so essentially, Annabeth and Percy just kind of run around for hours, and the campers slowly get pushed back closer and closer and closer to the Empire State Building until we're like only a block
Mhm.
away on all sides. And then, of course, Luke Kronos himself rolls up looking all well rested and ready because, of course, he does. They're just about to
Mhm.
retreat, like inside the doors, when they hear a hunting horn and in come the Party Ponies. And they've got an assortment of fun arrows with like pinwheels and boxing gloves on the end, and they have war paint and costumes like this is a party instead of a war.
I like that they each have a state chapter. I think that's really cool. I also, of course, because they're party ponies, I was like, Pink Pony Club?
Yes.
Playing in the background, maybe?
Yes.
Obviously, that didn't exist when this book was written, but I do think Rick would be on board with that.
Oh my gosh. I'm just imagining like this scene and having like a bunch of centaurs write in to the tune of Pink Pony Club.
Yeah, literal Pink
Incredible.
Pony Club.
Would love it.
If anyone from Disney is listening to this, write that down. Write that down.
Write it down and give us money. Credit us. Oh my god.
I don't even need credit. You can steal the idea because I would just love to see it.
Okay, well, no, Mallory, stop.
Laura would like credit.
Mallory, all of us are broke.
Yeah. Also, with the Party Ponies, Chiron is also there because he's the one who organized them.
Finally, an adult.
I know. Yay for Chiron finally doing something.
Yo, he's busy, okay? I just had my kids do projects on other Roman myths. He has had to mentor so many people. He's probably so tired.
Oh, I'm sure he is. But that's no excuse for not doing his job mentoring
Yeah.
the kids that he's got right now. And I really enjoy the way that Percy describes like the Party Ponies writing in, because he says, and I quote, It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. The entire Titan army turned and fled, pushed back by a flood of paintballs, arrows, swords, and Nerf baseball bats. The centaurs trampled everything in their path. Like, the Nerf baseball bats really get me, because real baseball bats would be no less ridiculous, but would do a whole lot more damage.
My other thing is, like, Nerf makes stuff that flies, that you can shoot. So, like, why are you, if you're gonna buy a Nerf item to bring with you to the war, why is it a bat that you have to get really close to somebody to use? But I'm guessing that they had to go on some planes, maybe?
No, because centaurs can just run really fast. They just ran.
Are you joking? They ran really fast?
Yes!
This is how the Athenian kids got from the reservoir to 33rd Street. They ran really fast.
Yes, in the Sea of Monsters, the first time they like ride with the Party Ponies, I think Chiron runs them from like Miami to New York in just a couple of hours because the centaurs can like bend distance as they travel or something, as he explains it. Yeah.
How is that like the most ridiculous thing in this chapter? Like they just ran really fast.
Yeah, this is where Julie's like, no, I can no longer suspend my disbelief.
Yeah.
They just ran really fast.
Yeah, this is the part. Yeah. Not the fact that they're half man, half horse, just that they run really fast. Yeah.
Yeah, but now that you've put that idea in my head, now I'm thinking about them having Nerf guns, and that's pretty good too.
Maybe, and when you have a Nerf gun and you like fire all the bullets, you gotta go find the bullets, and maybe their bullets were like all over their houses, and so they're like, just give me the bat, The running fast, though, I can't explain that.
Also, speaking of kind of silly, ridiculous things, Lou Kronos gets sat on by a Hyperborean giant butt, which is fun.
So funny. Oh, I like when Prometheus brings it up later.
See, there's that humor. But unfortunately, it is not going to kill him because, like, what a way to go. But unfortunately, his body is invulnerable.
Dang it.
Anyway, Lou Kronos is under a butt, which is great, and his army kind of retreats.
Mm-hmm.
And Annabeth and Chiron are both like, we can't pursue. We have to kind of regroup and not get spread out. But just like on the bridge, Percy doesn't really want to pull back. But he does recognize that Annabeth is right and eventually does. And we also get a little more information about the Party Ponies because there are centaurs here from every state in the Union, which I feel like is just a funny way to say that. Like, I was like, every state in the Union? What year is it?
Even like Alaska and Hawaii?
Well, yeah, there's definitely Hawaii centaurs that say they're from Hawaii.
They have the shirt.
They can run really fast over water.
Yeah.
The Hawaii centaurs. Also, there's like 500 of them, so finally, some decent reinforcements for us.
Yes.
I wonder if it's like the House of Representatives, though, where it's like you will get more centaurs from more populated states. Because in that case, like Alaska and Hawaii are in our.
There were a ton from California, too, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, it's like California is a big piece of land, and also it's more, there's more like pockets, I think, for wildlife to live than, say, Rhode Island. But I'm curious.
Hold on. Now I'm going back to look because they gave a couple of numbers. I remember that.
I thought you said 500.
Well, yeah, they said there was like 500 total.
Oh, total. Okay.
Okay, so here's what it says in the book. Chiron informed us that the Party Ponies had sent chapters from almost every state in the Union. 40 from California, 2 from Rhode Island, 30 from Illinois, roughly 500 total.
Okay, so how many representatives does California have?
I'm looking it up.
Surely a lot more than Illinois, right?
43 Democrats, 9 Republicans. So 51? No, 50.
52.
Okay. How many does Illinois have?
Illinois. I can't type fast enough on my phone.
Rhode Island has 2.
Oh!
Okay.
Wait up, these numbers changed since the book was written.
Have they?
Ah.
I don't know. No, they wouldn't have, because 435 has been pretty much the number for a long time.
Okay, so this says that Illinois only has 17, though, and they have 30 centaurs, so not quite.
I still like the idea that it's based on that.
Based on the U.S. House of Representatives.
It's relatively close.
Well, okay, I guess, yeah. I'm guessing that Rick was like, well, it doesn't make sense for 50 of them to come from Hawaii.
Yeah, we don't actually get a number of how many come from Hawaii, but yeah. I mean, there's 500, so there are more than are in the House of Representatives.
True.
Can't believe our reinforcements for the U.S. House of Representatives.
Oh man, we're so...
Which one is Nancy Pelosi? Which one is Nancy Pelosi?
No.
I want to see a little pantsuit on one of them.
Okay, would a centaur wear pants like all 4 legs or just the front 2? Or is it like the back 2?
Oh, that's a great image.
It's gotta be the back.
Yeah,
It's gotta be the back too, right?
But if you're looking at them like front on, like
Oh.
facing them,
Well, because I think the point of pants
Like-
is to keep, you know, the goods covered, and the
The
goods are in the
goods,
back.
Mallory.
So, but I guess it would cover them either way, so never mind.
Yeah.
If a centaur wore pants, they would, yeah. Okay, yeah. Oh, also, Chiron sends the party ponies off to a diner on West 33rd, and from a quick little search that I did, I didn't see any diners at all on West 33rd, and that was just me typing in diner on Google Maps. But Julie, the TikTok diner that we go to is on West 34th.
Close enough.
So I would like to imagine that that's where the party ponies went. I don't think 500 horses would fit in there, but
Probably not.
But it is relatively big for a New York City restaurant.
it is. But I feel like most places would not fit 500 horses. That's just a
It's against
lot.
some fire code.
I feel like it's against a lot of codes.
Yeah. Next time I go to TikTok Diner, I'm going to look on the wall and see how many people they can legally hold. So yeah, 500 centaurs in the TikTok Diner.
I know a diner on East
Yes.
East 33rd.
I saw that one, but not on West.
but-
So either there was one and it closed, or Chiron does not know where the diners are.
Maybe he has to do like the never eat soggy waffles to figure out his east from west.
Yeah, he's like, oh, it's on West 33rd, but
Yeah.
actually he was talking about the one on East 33rd. Maybe. It is about sunrise on August 17th at this point, so tomorrow is in fact Percy's 16th birthday.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I didn't realize his birthday.
yeah.
was
Tomorrow
so
is his birthday.
close.
His birthday is tomorrow, and he has not had a real night of sleep since the 13th. By the way, he's had 3 naps. Just to keep us all updated on the things that I'm tracking, Percy has slept 3 times, 3 naps.
How long are his naps?
One of them at least was not very long
Oh,
because it
okay.
was in the dungeons of the underworld.
And then doesn't he keep having like dreams, which I'm
Yes.
assuming are distressing
Yes.
because he's still conscious and he's like not actually sleeping? Yeah.
Yeah, so
Great,
he's like
great,
getting
great.
information in his sleep, which is
Not what sleep is for.
crazy. Yeah, we're doing well. So Chiron also, with the reinforcements, he also brings bad news. So the fight with Typhon is not going well for the gods. Hephaestus and Mr. D are both kind of out of the action, and it's looking like Typhon is going to be in New York by this time tomorrow, Percy's birthday.
Wow. So convenient.
So convenient. Thalia and Chiron then leave to go like set some new traps and also make sure that the party ponies aren't going too overboard with the root beer. And every time they mention root beer, I'm really torn between being like, okay, we're calling it root beer to keep it PG, that's not what's really happening, or picturing them playing like beer pong and doing keg stands, but it's all just root beer because that's kind of funny.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe because they're mythical creatures, maybe it is like alcoholic for them.
Yeah, like the amount of sugar.
Yeah, because
makes it
they
alcohol-
usually
yeah.
like, they would eat ambrosia, which is like not good for mortals. Like mortals can't.
And Mr. D loves Diet Coke, doesn't he, or something? Like, it's like soda is there.
That is true. Ooh, is mortal soda like a mythical interest? Much to consider. Much to
Yeah.
consider.
Mm.
I like it. Okay.
Okay.
Then Annabeth and Percy get a moment alone, which is great. Percy says he's got a bad feeling that this might be their last chance to talk, and he feels like there's a million things he hasn't told her. But, you know, instead of having the conversation that we all wish that they could have right now, he brings up the vision that Hestia showed him of the first day when she met Luke and Thalia, and he also brings up the fact that Thalia told him that she's worried that Annabeth won't be able to face Luke. And he also tells her about his dream where Ethan seemed to think that Luke was still in there fighting Kronos. You know, he's really laying all his Luke-related cards out on the table right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Annabeth says, I'm just going to read it because, yeah. She says, I ran away when I was 7. Then with Luke and Thalia, I thought I'd found a family, but it fell apart almost immediately. What I'm saying, ... I hate when people let me down, when things are temporary. I think that's why I want to be an architect. And Percy kind of finishes her thought with, to build something permanent. And I just have so many feelings about Annabeth Chase. Like, this prophecy is trying so hard to really ruin her something permanent because, like, the reason that her found family with Thalia and Luke fell apart goes back to the Great Prophecy. Like, the reason Thalia died was because Hades was sending monsters after her, probably specifically because he was mad at Zeus coming after like his own kids and killing their mother. And so like
Right. Well, okay, hold on. She wasn't dead though. She was just not a human.
right, but like for their intents and purposes, like she was dead to them. Like they no longer had
Okay.
Thalia.
Okay.
And also like Hades' curse on the Oracle and what it did to Luke's mom kind of started Luke down on this path, and then like losing Thalia didn't really help either. And then Percy is going to reach his 16th birthday tomorrow and might possibly get his soul reaped. Like, this prophecy is specifically made
Yeah.
to screw over Annabeth Chase's chance at building something permanent. So, anyway, poor Annabeth.
You have a lot of feelings.
I
Yeah.
have a lot of feelings.
Like in defense of Annabeth.
Okay, so Percy kind of closes out this conversation by saying he understands how she feels, but Thalia is right. Luke has betrayed Annabeth so many times, and he doesn't want to give him a chance to hurt her anymore. And she says she's still going to hope that there's a chance that Percy is wrong, because that's Annabeth. And then suddenly Percy is in a bar at Bobby Earl's birthday party.
Yeah.
He's been summoned by Mr. D, who at least was kind enough to let him finish this conversation, I guess.
I don't think it was really done.
No, he just brought him over. But I love this conversation for the way that like it's just so snarky, and neither of them really seem to want to be having this conversation, but yeah, it's this is a funny interaction.
Yeah.
So first of all, he shows up and Mr. D immediately asks him for a Diet Coke. He also explains that most of him is still buried under rubble from where he was like thrown from the battle, but part of his consciousness is now here and is anywhere that there is a party. And he also says finding a party was kind of hard since most of the mortals are convinced that the world is ending because of Typhon and his trip across the states.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. D has brought him here to give him a message. He says if Olympus falls, everything connected to the gods will unravel, meaning the end of Western civilization.
Cheers to that.
Yeah, I was kind of had the is Western civilization worth saving conversation, and I know, Julie, your answer was no.
Yikes.
I do think at this point we are kind of approaching the issue with a little more nuance than we did at the beginning. Like at the beginning, when Luke first betrayed Percy and kind of like brought up this idea of Western civilization being a disease, Percy was very like, but the gods are your family, like the gods are the gods. But now it feels like we're kind of examining more of like the way that the gods have failed and done kind of the worst possible things in a lot of different situations.
I'm sorry, is this Bush era? Are we still in the Bush era here? Or have we moved on?
Well, this came out in 2009, but it would have been written, I guess, at the tail end of the Bush era.
And what, post-financial crisis?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, wrap it up. Western civilization, toilet bowl.
I don't know. It just kind of feels like the idea that we have arrived at in continuing to try to save Olympus is that, like, yeah, our current system sucks, but bringing in a new, worse system is not the way to fix the broken one.
Wow, the parallels.
I know. I'm like, real life.
I also think, just like in real life, this is kind of sad. But as I've gotten older, I've like realized that pretty much every family you will ever know has some kind of dysfunction that goes way deeper than the surface level. It's like it could be some really messed up stuff going on. And so I think getting to see Percy start the series at like 12 and then getting to see him now where he's like, oh my god, even deities make mistakes with their family, and like especially that conversation Nico has with his with Hades, but I don't remember if that's this chapter or the next one.
Yeah, it's somewhere. We'll get there. Yeah.
By the way, I love Hades walking around like with Nico chasing after him with, I'm not listening. I'm like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, his hands over his ears.
Yeah.
Like, how old are you?
I didn't like the way they portrayed Demeter and Persephone, though. That didn't seem accurate to me. Also, just going back to Mr. D, I just love that the things that he identifies as things that make life worth living for are in this order: art, law, wine tastings, music, video games, silk shirts, and black velvet painting.
Yeah.
I don't know what he means by black velvet.
Oh, I have no idea.
It's probably an art technique that yeah, but I'm also like, you're Mr. D, why isn't wine tasting first? Also, why is law second? Like, why are you even thinking about the law?
That's very true. No, the law part really got me. I'm like, law?
You don't care about that? Be honest. Come on.
The things that make life worth living? The laws.
The law. Mm-hmm. That's the best part. Yeah.
Right. That's what I look forward to every morning.
Yeah.
Um,
The tremble in your voice, yeah.
like the law.
So glad we have that.
I mean, in some ways, yes, but also, does the law mean anything anymore? When certain people can just do whatever they
Oh,
want? I don't know.
dang. Can of worms.
Yeah.
It is open. Put those worms back.
They're everywhere.
Put those worms back.
Pandora's box, oh my god.
Pandora's storage jar, actually. But anyway, basically, as part of Mr. D's message, he tells Percy that the gods basically need heroes to be willing to defend Olympus because the gods' power comes from them and, like, depends on them caring about it. So, again, broken system. And, you know, in real life, the power of a lot of terrible rulers depends on the little guys being willing to fight for them. So, you know, parallels.
Yeah. This is also like the gods are the people on Twitter being like, "Would you still love me if I was a worm?" Like, shut up. Stop.
We don't even really love you now, Zeus, so
Torturing a 15-year-old boy.
Mr. D also warns Percy that Kronos is intending to burn Luke's body away and achieve full power, and that if he achieves his full form, it would be so powerful that simply being in its presence would incinerate you. So that's really fun stuff. He also asks about his son and asks Percy to keep him alive, and Percy was like, I had no idea that he even cared about his son.
Fair.
Which, real, but also,
Yeah.
ouch.
True.
And also, I appreciate his commitment to always using any other P name imaginable except for Percy. It's Pierre.
Pedro.
He always
I
gets
think is
Peter.
really good.
Yeah.
It's like in Finding Nemo. She never gets his name right.
Your son Bingo? Your son Fabio?
Bye, homo. Nemo, Nemo.
I don't think she ever calls him homo.
No, Elmo. Elmo.
I just-
Elmo. The little red Muppet.
I heard homo.
No, she does not call him a homo. Mallory. That would be a hate crime.
That's actually what happens in the second Dory movie. Dory does a hate crime. I'm sorry. Okay. Any other thoughts on Mr. D in that whole conversation? Because
His outfit. Can we please talk about his outfit?
Wait, what's he wearing? Wait.
He's a leopard print Hawaiian shirt.
yes.
What is that monstrosity?
And purple shorts and red shoes.
I don't
Yes.
like it.
And black socks. Okay, wait. So I'm inclined to say that a leopard print Hawaiian shirt is just a button-down shirt that's leopard print.
Essentially.
I mean, I think his whole MO is like chaos and not really caring, right? So it makes sense to me that he's wearing random shit. Like,
See, I was picturing like a leopard print shirt with like hibiscus flowers.
oh, I do like that.
Maybe tie in the red, like red hibiscus flowers on it.
That feels more Hawaiian to me.
After the Mr. D thing, he just kind of poofs back to New York and no time has passed. So Percy then catches sight of a blue Prius that's got a very dented hood, and inside he finds his mom and Paul asleep. Percy feels horrible that they've been there in the middle of this battle and he didn't even notice, and he's losing it a little bit, which is understandable, being, you know, Mr. Mama's boy and also hasn't had a good night's rest in 3.5 days now. He deserves to break down a little, I think. But then, speaking of Pandora's box, as you said earlier, in the back seat of the car, he finds Pandora's jar that was left locked in a vault at the Plaza Hotel. And Chiron warns him that since the jar is his now, it will now follow him around and appear whenever he's at his weakest and tempt him to open it. As if he needs another thing to worry about.
Yikes. So as someone who is an overthinker and who is constantly feeling like black and white thinking, this situation sucks, it's kind of nice to know, like, if I don't see the jar, it's not that bad.
If I don't see the jar, the situation could still get worse.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I also want to point out that you said Mom and Paul, and I forgot that his name is Paul and not that you just had an accent, maybe?
His pa.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, so Percy then decides we should put the car in neutral and he's going to take the jar to Olympus, but before he can do much more with that, suddenly a helicopter appears, and it's got the Dare Enterprises logo on the side.
My girl!
And she's back, baby! And of course, Annabeth is pissed. And this is what Manasa was talking about a couple weeks ago when I was like, what would happen if a plane flew over?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I think that's going to be answered. Yeah, I also forgot about that. So, kind of seems like the helicopter could get over New York, but then when it started to come down, that's when the pilot got hit
Mhm.
with the enchantment. So I think I was onto something when I was like, is it like a dome? So
Probably.
the like enchantment, yeah. So maybe if it hadn't been trying to land, it would have just been able to fly over with no issue. I don't know. But so Percy has no idea what to do. And it's up to Annabeth to save the day here. She whistles for a Pegasus and she's like, come on, Percy, we have to go save your friend. And friend is italicized, to show just how much she does not want to be doing this.
And that means that Percy picks up on it.
Oh,
too,
yeah.
Because we're hearing it from his
right.
point of view.
Percy knows.
Yeah.
Percy knows. At this point, he knows. He maybe didn't know last book, but now he knows. Anything else on chapter 15?
No.
So, chapter 16, we get help from a thief. Rachel is screaming inside the helicopter,
Valid.
meaning she's not asleep for whatever reason. It's the correct reaction. But we don't have time to unpack why she's not asleep. Annabeth and Percy get on the Pegasus and fly up there. Annabeth grabs onto the helicopter door just as Guido hits his side on the helicopter, and it sends him and Percy into a free fall and leaves Annabeth just hanging from the side of a helicopter. And this I can also see in full action movie style, this scene playing out.
Yeah.
So as he's falling, Percy kind of sees Rachel pull Annabeth into the helicopter. And as he falls, he's trying to tell Guido, extend your arms and glide. Or not your arms, he's Pegasus. Extend your wings and glide.
Yeah.
He does, but they still kind of crash land. Percy, however, is invincible, so he just kind of gets up. And he gets to watch as Annabeth somehow takes control of this helicopter and manages to land it.
Iconic.
No big deal.
Iconic.
Angelina Jolie-ass shit.
Incredible.
I love it.
My girl.
She is that girl. Period.
Mhm.
What can't she do?
No, she can't kill spiders, right? Or whatever. That's her big
Valid.
thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. But we'll allow it because she's correct for that. So they all climb out of the helicopter. And it feels like out of the helicopter just comes the pilot, Rachel, and Annabeth. It wasn't said that Rachel's parents were in there, right? Did they just send her back to New York on her own?
Probably.
In the helicopter?
I thought she said that she fought to come back. She told them she had to come back.
She did.
She made that deal.
Yeah, she made the deal that she's going to go to fancy finishing school in exchange for getting to go back to New York.
So I'm thinking her dad just shipped her off on that thing.
Oh, okay.
So either her dad shipped her off or her dad is still asleep in the helicopter and they're just leaving him there.
That's funnier, so I like that one.
Insignificant.
Yeah, so it's also very important to me that when they come out of the helicopter, the first person that Percy addresses is not Rachel, who has just arrived, but it's Annabeth. And he's immediately just I didn't know you could fly a helicopter. And she's like, neither did I. But between my dad's airplane obsession and Daedalus's notes, I took a stab at it and it worked.
I guess, yeah.
Queen. Annabeth also asked Rachel, what's she doing here? Rachel said she had to be here because she knew Percy was in trouble. Annabeth says, yeah, you're right. Now, excuse me, I have injured friends to tend to. And it's our second italicized friends from Annabeth.
Oh!
Oof.
Love her. Rachel tells Percy she's sorry and that she always seems to mess things up. Percy says it's kind of hard to argue with that, but he is still thinking about Annabeth. He's still thinking about her landing this helicopter. If it wasn't already clear that Rachel is not really a threat,
yeah,
Percy's reaction here to Rachel showing up is dead giveaway. His mind is still with Annabeth.
But Annabeth doesn't know that.
Right, because she's Rachel's here. So, because they both have doubt in their relationship. So for Annabeth, it's seeing Rachel with Percy, but for Percy, it's seeing the way Annabeth still defends Luke.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
whenever those
that's true.
pieces come into play, it's very are we? Yeah. So those are the things casting doubt. So we've just brought Annabeth's doubt straight into the mix here. So Percy then asks Rachel what the message she needs to give him is. And she says she's been seeing things, and that's why she wanted him to go on vacation with her so that he could maybe help her figure out what is going on with her.
Okay, you don't have to go on vacation for that, though. That's weird.
That's true. They could have had this conversation at home, but
why didn't you go to a Starbucks or something like a normal teenager?
Why don't you hang out more in her fancy apartment in Brooklyn? Yeah, lots of places where a teenager could have the conversation about the life-altering visions that she's having.
Listen, if I heard two teenagers talking about that, I wouldn't even notice. I'd be like, those kids, so funny.
Be like, they must be a part of some sort of LARPing.
Yeah. That's what your mind goes to, LARPing.
I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe they're working on a project for their Latin club. I feel like I actually would I would just think they're enjoying the whimsy of childhood. Like, I think
That's fair.
like, I don't think we have to go to the extremes.
Well, the vision thing does kind of freak Percy out. He kind of wonders if this is a thing that happens to all mortals who can see through the mist. But
Mm-hmm.
his mom has never said anything about this, and so the only real other mortal he can compare this to is May Castellan, and we all know what happened to her.
Not good.
Rachel then gasps and says that something is about to happen, a trick that ends in death, but she can't give any more information than that. Like, that's all she knows. The pained noise. I'm so sorry, Julie.
I hate it.
And this is also not what she came here to say. The message she came to deliver was, Perseus, you are not the hero. She says this is important, and this will affect what he does.
He takes this so personally. He gets so upset. It's so funny.
He does.
I know.
Yes. He's like, I'm trying to control my emotions, but I feel like I've got another personal hurricane swirling around me. And like, he's for the guy who like 4 days ago was like, I'm gonna have to get my stupid soul reaped. Now hearing that like he might not be the hero is like, pick a side, Percy.
Yeah. It's so funny.
Yeah. But I guess it's like, it's one thing for you to hope that it's not you, and another thing for some random girl to fall into New York City and be like, yeah, it's not you. And just say it to your face.
Yeah, to come all the way to New York and be like, you're actually not
Yeah.
the hero, Percy. I don't know, Julie, any thoughts on what this might mean for our prophecy or our final battle in the days to come?
I just find it hard to believe that the prophecy's not about Percy. So I don't know if like the hero might be referring to something different.
I don't know.
Okay, that's a lie. You do know. I don't know. I don't remember. Sorry.
I always forget that, Laura, you don't remember anything. You just kind of come here and just
I'm like jumping in.
Let's
Okay,
do
I'm
it.
out.
make things up.
Yeah.
So Percy then introduces Rachel to Chiron, and he takes her off to go talk about the things she's been seeing. Percy asks him to help her and also warn her not to go too far. Chiron then tells Percy to take a nap, which annoys him, but boy, once again, you have had 3 naps in 3 days. Like, it's time for a 4th. Chiron also tells him that the invulnerability only makes him tire faster, and how like Achilles himself was always sleeping if he wasn't fighting.
That's crazy. Because we don't have proof of that.
Chiron was there. Chiron trained Achilles.
Okay, in Song of Achilles, he does not talk about taking naps.
Yeah,
Okay.
most of my knowledge about Achilles comes from Song of Achilles as well.
Yeah.
So Chiron also tells Percy that he might be their only hope, but Percy, again, taking it very personally, is a little salty, and he's like, well, I might not be your only hope because Rachel says I'm not even the hero. He's being such a baby about this.
He is. It's like, bro.
Focus on the task at hand. Oh my god.
So he takes a nap, and he sees Nico arguing with Hades, and this is where we get our Hades walking around covering his ears.
Mm-hmm.
And so Nico is trying to convince him to join the fight. And it's very, very funny to me the way Demeter's like, you know what would help this boy out? 6 months of farming. Being behind a plow builds character. Love. But, you know, Nico is making some excellent points. That Hades can't just cut himself off because he's an Olympian whether he likes it or not. And for all the horrible things that the gods have done to him, he's done plenty of horrible things right back. And Nico tells him it's time for him to actually do something helpful, so maybe the rest of the gods will actually respect him.
But also, like, if the gods go down, he's also going down. Like, there's no
Right,
way he's going to
that's
stay in
true.
power.
And Hades then goes to blast him, and Nico says, yeah, this is exactly what the other gods would expect. Go ahead, do it. And so he ends up, like, blasting the tree right next to Nico, but Persephone, at least, was starting to see Nico's point. And she's saying that at least fighting in a war would be more interesting than just hiding in the underworld, so...
Okay, see, yeah. I don't think that's very in character for her, because while I do believe she is, like, a bored wife, I don't think she would be mean to Nico in that sense. Like, she is trying to persuade Hades to see Nico's point of view and be like, you should go fight. But I feel like the way she says it is just so much sassier than I would imagine Persephone being, because there's like another person around who's not your stupid husband. Like,
Yeah.
Why aren't you enjoying his company?
There also might be the element of like, hey, this is my husband's like bastard son.
Oh,
And so that might be why she doesn't.
But it's not Nico's fault.
I know it's not Nico's fault,
No,
but when
oh
has
my
that
God,
ever
but
stopped an adult from taking out their anger on a child, you know?
True.
I mean, it happens all the time also in the myths. Like Hercules, the whole reason his life is awful is because Hera hates him because he's Zeus's
Yeah.
son out of wedlock.
Yeah. So after the Nico dream, Percy then is at the United Nations, where the Titan army has made their camp. Kronos says it's time to unleash the Drakon. And I will probably switch between calling it a Drakon and a Draken, because I can't decide on a pronunciation and I don't know what's right.
Draken reminds me of Kim Possible. Dr. Draken.
Ooh.
Okay, Draken. They're gonna unleash the
I like
Draken because
Mhm.
because the kids aren't gonna expect it and they can't beat it. And I really hate that I just called them the kids because that's horrifying.
Wait, why is that horrifying?
The child army isn't horrifying to you?
Oh, no, but like they are kids.
They are kids, but I was just like, oh yeah, the kids. We're gonna send this dragon after the kids.
Oh, I mean, that's not what you were saying. It's what
Right,
Kronos
no,
was
that's
saying.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, so then Kronos has some pretty hostile conversations with Ethan and Prometheus. Ethan warns him that he needs the time to regenerate, and he says he's not going to rest until Olympus is in ruins. Famous last words.
Mm-hmm.
Prometheus points out he's always said that it's beneath him to fight a mere mortal, but now Kronos has fought Percy 3 times, and he wonders if maybe Luke is influencing him and weakening his judgment. Kronos is not like this at all, and he threatens to make Prometheus join his old friends, the gods. So Prometheus is like, never mind. Forget I said anything. And so they prepare for battle. The Draken roars, and it wakes up Percy like a mile away. So, not great.
Mm-hmm.
So we immediately start preparing for battle with the Draken, but things are bleak. We have no Greek fire. The Apollo cabin is like scrounging around for arrows, and all we have at this point that are in fighting shape, we have 16 campers, 15 hunters, and 6 satyrs. This makes me wonder, and also kind of wish that they had given us information on like who is injured versus how many have died, because we had 40 campers. Now we have 16. That is 24 less than we started with.
Okay, woman in STEM.
Right,
Sorry.
math. The hunters have gone from 30 to 15, so they've cut their numbers in half.
Right.
And we don't know how many satyrs there were, but like I can imagine it was more than 6. So not great. Also, the party ponies are now root beer drunk and they're fighting each other. So
Right, but it's also like it's from Percy's point of view, so he does not know who's missing and who's dead.
very true.
So it's not fair if we get to like it wouldn't make sense if we got to know
Because
that.
Percy knows like 10 campers. That's yeah.
Realistically, yeah, because he's never there.
Because he's never
always
there.
off doing
And he met
something.
one girl in the infirmary on his first day, and he was like, "That's enough. I've got the goat, and I've got the girl, and that's it. That's all the people I need to know."
Relatable.
Okay, so Chiron then informs them that the Draken is a Lydian Draken, aka the oldest and most dangerous kind. Rachel shares that this Draken's fate is that it's to be killed by a child of Ares. Mighty convenient, since we have no child of Ares. And Percy realizes that this is what Luke Kronos meant when he said they wouldn't be able to beat it. And how did he know this? Because of our good friend, the spy.
Son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm. I really love the interaction that Percy and Rachel have here, because Percy tells Rachel to go inside and she's like, I want to stay. And then the dragon turns up and like roars so loud it shatters the windows on the skyscraper. And she's like, actually, I'll be inside.
Bye.
And she's correct.
Self-awareness is good. Yeah.
So then Percy describes for us the difference between dragons and drakens. And so drakens are giant serpents, and most don't have wings or breathe fire, but they are poisonous. And they have strong scales like titanium, and they can paralyze you with their eyes. But it's more of like a fear paralysis than a turn you into stone paralysis. But still. Also, behind the Draken, we also have the army coming down Fifth Avenue yet again. So really, really good for us. Percy then takes on the Draken. Annabeth comes up next to him to help, and her eyes are red. And he wants to explain to her that it wasn't his idea for Rachel to come here, but there's no time. And Mrs. O'Leary is also helping them take on the Draken. She knocks it off the building, and then it eats a couple centaurs. So that's good. Percy stabs it in the eye. Annabeth climbs on its back invisibly, stabs it. But all in all, we're not really making much progress. And Kronos' army is just getting closer and closer to the Empire State Building. It's not good. And then Percy hears the rumbling of chariot wheels with a girl in armor leading them. And everyone's like, yay, Clarice to the rescue. But what I have to point out here is Percy says they have 12 chariots and 30 fresh warriors. what do you mean 30? That can't be how many children of Ares there were. Like, we had 40 total campers coming from like 8 different cabins in the beginning. And then you're going to tell me that there are 30 in the Ares cabin? Like, how is the Ares cabin like half of the population of camp?
Crazy.
Okay, wait. I thought that the Ares cabin was always one of the like more crowded ones.
Well, I think
So-
it is, but I think in the Lightning Thief they're described as being like a dozen kids.
Oh.
So it's like there are a
Hmm.
lot of them, but it's not like 30. So then I
Yeah,
was wondering, like, do they just
30.
have a bunch of sympathizers who stayed with them because they were on the Ares cabin side? But it didn't seem like that.
Can I say something controversial?
Uh-oh.
I don't think it matters.
Wow. I think you're right, but shut up.
Okay.
Ouch.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
They do at least have Chris Rodriguez with them, so only 29, I guess, Ares campers. I don't know, it just feels wild. Okay, but yes, so 6 of their chariots then charge towards the monster army, and 6 of them charge towards the dragon. They're led by quote-unquote Clarice. And Percy says Clarice sounds shriller than usual, but it's not surprising given what she's fighting. And it starts to go wrong, like, immediately. One Ares camper gets, like, eaten by the dragon, another gets sprayed with poison. And they yell to Clarice, like, you can do it! You're a child of Ares, and, like, you're destined to kill this dragon. And Percy says he can tell something is wrong because Clarice's blue eyes shone with fear. And he's like, Clarice doesn't have blue eyes. And then it immediately, like, spits poison in her face.
Are you telling me he would actually remember that?
He would not.
I'm sorry, I find it incredibly hard to believe that Percy knows what color Clarice's eyes are.
No, that line is definitely in there for the drama.
It could just be that he was like, Clarice didn't have blue eyes, but it's not the same as like Clarice has whatever color eyes. It's just like, I don't remember Clarice, like, especially because blue is such a bright color, I think, for eyes usually. The light will pick it up, and he was probably like, I've never noticed that before, and I don't think that's normal for Clarice.
And I mean, I think you can also read it as like, if Percy is telling us this story after the fact, he like, in the moment he might have recognized that, like, something is different about the person that I am looking at. And, like, maybe in the moment he didn't recognize that that's what it was, but, like, after the fact he was like, I should have picked up on it.
Oops. Yeah.
So fake Clarice is like
Clarice
poisoned.
It's like if you say release really fast, Clarice,
Clarice, fake Clarice, Clarice. So yeah, she is laying on the ground now.
Yeah, she got hit with poison. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
This is not funny now.
I know it's not funny, and I knew I was gonna do this because whenever things get sad, I like kind of.
It's like an anxiety
I'm either
laugh?
crying or it's like an anxiety laugh. Yeah. So Percy is taking on the dragon by himself for a few minutes, not getting very far. Annabeth has run to help the girl who has fallen and is trying to, like, get her helmet off with
Clarice.
But
yes.
Neither of them are having very much success. And Percy, like, looks over and he sees Clarice on the ground, but then he also sees the flying chariot land, and fresh off the flying chariot comes the real Clarice. Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
And as a child, I did not pick up on anything, like, that anything was weird about this situation. I was like, oh no, Clarice has been poisoned, until they were like, oh, it's Clarice. And then I was still confused until Percy was like, oh, how could I not have noticed? The girl in the armor is, like, thinner and shorter than Clarice. Like, someone stole Clarice's armor. And I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Julie, at what point did you realize that this was not Clarice and it was, in fact, a plot?
Not until the blue eye thing.
Okay. So a little bit faster than 11-year-old me. Percy had to really spell it out for me.
I had it written out. OMG, finally Clarice showed up. I knew Selena could do it, and then the immediate after bullet point is, wait, did Selena pretend to be Clarice? I'm like, no.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, coming off the flying chariot with Clarice is her very real male boyfriend, Chris Rodriguez. He's here now. Kind of ruins the vibe for me, but we can unpack that later.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, okay.
So Clarice then gets up from the side of the other girl, because that's where she went first, and then she's like, "Oh, you want death? All right." And then with no armor, charges the Draken, stabs it in the eye, kills it, and then in a very non-Clarice move, because everybody's like staring at her like, oh my god, you just did this crazy wild thing. She doesn't seem to care about the glory or anything, because she is going straight back to the girl who stole her armor, which, we know is someone who Julie cares very much about, because it is Selena. And by the time Percy gets back over there, they've gotten her helmet off, and he sees that it is Selena Beauregard, and just the way this chapter ends kind of lives rent-free in my mind, where he's like, I look down at the dying face of Selena Beauregard.
This is one of the moments that I actually do remember, because I remember she was a child of Aphrodite, and I remember reading that and being like, what the fuck? Why did she have to die? This doesn't make any sense.
It's very much like a gasp-worthy moment. Like, you're like, oh my god, it's Selena in Clarice's armor. Crazy.
Right, so this whole situation has heterosexual written all over it, right? Like, she is wearing Clarice's clothes, battle clothes. Clarice comes, kills a monster, and then immediately goes back to her side as she's dying.
Absolutely.
And the moment where she's like, no, like, that's so cartoonish almost, but it's like, it's also something that's very sapphic, I feel like, especially because a lot of times women love women characters are like killed off or whatever. And so I think if her boyfriend were in Selena's place, I do not think she would have been filled with rage enough to kill that monster. I think she would have been like, ooh.
I don't believe Clarice likes that man. I don't think really she does. Don't. No. Clarice is in love with Selena. She just is. And I don't think she doesn't know that, but she is.
Well, it's too late.
Whether or not you want to be like, oh, Selena returns her feelings, because this might be controversial. I don't really think that she does. I think Selena.
I don't remember enough about.
Yeah, Selena. I don't think she was
in love with
had enough time to get over Beckendorf. Yeah, so I think this is very much like a.
But I think if you give her time, she might have like several years in the future.
Currently, I think it's a one-sided from Clarice's side.
But I don't even think Clarice is conscious of
Clarice doesn't even
know. So there's nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, there's nothing to do about it.
It's like really. It's a very interesting situation, and I feel like it's one that I see some of myself in, because I didn't recognize my like crushes on girls as being crushes.
Yeah.
When I was younger.
This was a lesbian rite of passage, I think.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, to have the girl that you love but don't know that you love steal your armor and ride into battle.
Die.
Yeah, the lesbian rite of passage. I remember when this happened to me.
No, it's the part where you don't understand until it's too late. You don't understand why you feel a certain way, why you feel so strongly until it's too late.
No, that's you're right. And I took it unserious.
And like not having the vocabulary to explain that. Anyway, Riordan, ally.
It's also the fact that they're literally doing Achilles and Patroclus here, because that's what this is. Like, Patroclus stole Achilles' armor, rode it into battle, he was killed.
And was smaller.
And then Achilles then killed the guy who killed Patroclus in revenge. And, like, it feels like we've taken the most from this story and, like, turned it into kind of Clarice's arc here. Because, like, I mean, the reason that Achilles stopped fighting was because of kind of like Clarice with the chariot. There was the woman that
she's a girl, but yes,
they were kind of viewing as property. Yes. Oh yeah, the girl, not even a woman. Yes. And the fact that like Agamemnon took her and Achilles felt like she was rightfully his. Like, glad we made that a chariot and not like a human person. But then him like refusing to fight, and then Patroclus taking his armor and riding it into battle so his men would follow, and then getting killed, and then and famously heterosexual Achilles and Patroclus.
Guys being bros.
Two guys being bros.
They get buried together. Sorry, spoiler alert for Song of Achilles.
Yes, they get buried together. And, well, we're not even done with this scene yet, so we will continue to unpack the Clarice-Selena thing next week. Yeah, so Julie is in mourning currently.
I also remember feeling like a gut punch because not that a child of Aphrodite can't go into battle and raise some hell, but it's just like, oh my god, why her? Like, she has not done anything wrong, and we watch her die. She's a martyr. Like, she sacrificed herself.
Do you have any other final thoughts on this whole situation with Selena?
I just hate Rick. I hate him.
That's fair.
I hate him, but I think it's kind of romantic that she was like, okay, the love of my life. I don't know how much you can really think that at such a young age, but you know, the love of my life ostensibly like died. So I'm going to, it's probably the end of the world. I'm gonna go down fighting. And I'm like, that's very romantic.
Real lover behavior.
So I hope they're together.
Yeah, in Elysium, I hope. And because I don't know if you recall, but when Nico said he talked to Beckendorf, and Beckendorf said he was waiting for someone. I mean, I take that to mean he was waiting for Selena, and we're like foreshadowing what's to come for her. But also, I'm like, does he have advanced knowledge of that? So what was he? Yeah, what was he hoping? Like, he was just kind of like, well, I know this war is coming, and so it might happen, or is it like a?
He's probably just like, I guess I'll wait. No, but it's like she's got a mortal half, so even if the war doesn't come and she doesn't die in the war, like eventually she will be there.
Well, yeah, but also I'm like, if she died when she was like 50, then
true love can wait, Mallory. He's already dead. He doesn't have anything else to do.
I mean, I guess he was 18, so he could.
That's what I was thinking. Is like, does he die as like a minor?
Oh, okay.
I guess, Julie, do you have any predictions for what's to come?
Yeah, just on chapters though. I really gotta sit with this prophecy thing of Percy not being the hero. It's really messing with my
half-blood of the eldest god shall reach 16 against all odds. See the world in endless sleep. A hero's soul, cursed blade shall reap. The final choice shall end his days.
I gotta go back and read
Olympus
the whole thing.
To preserve or raise.
Okay, the fact that you know this by heart is a little. It's not surprising, but it is concerning.
I have all the prophecies from Mysterious memorized. I also have the first page mostly memorized. I don't know if it's word for word, but it's close.
I know all the words to American Pie.
That honestly is probably more words than all of the prophecies and the first page of this book. Or not this book, this series.
Plus I have to do it with rhythm.
Yeah. Anyway, Julie, your chapter predictions.
Okay, chapter 17. I sit on the hot seat. I want to see Percy get grilled by Annabeth about all the Rachel stuff. I want some jealous Annabeth.
Do you think they'll have time for that?
There's always time to be jealous.
Okay.
She was getting jealous right in the middle, like the helicopter's crashing, and she's like, "Let's go save your friend." I'm like, Annabeth, now? Really?
She could have just let her die if she wanted to, though.
There's always time to be jealous.
I'm here for the shipping. I'm here for the drama.
Oh, yeah, me too. So
I was here for Selena, unfortunately now.
So actually, this podcast, unfortunately, is ending because Selena is ending, and
yeah, they killed off my favorite character. What the fuck?
Well, we still have Rachel.
True. I do love Rachel.
But how long will we have Rachel for? Who's to say?
Stop. Redhead solidarity. I do not believe she's a regular mortal. There's no way. Why is she not asleep?
She's not like the other girls.
Love. And then chapter 18, my parents go commando, choosing to believe that they are wearing underwear and that they are just Sally and Paul are joining the fight.
Yeah. Very nice, very nice.
Why not both? Sorry.
Because that would make me very uncomfortable in a children's book. Gotta be honest.
I think that would also make Percy pretty uncomfortable. I mean, I guess you could predict, is Selena actually gonna die? Because she hasn't yet. She's just dying.
She did. She did.
Why is
this funny
so
to you,
mean, Mallory?
I'm so sorry. It's not funny. It's just...
Is this a joke?
Why are you shoving it in Julie's face?
Yeah, I literally, my zinger, I wrote immediately out at the end of this chapter, I wrote, Rick Riordan hater, and I sent a snap to Mal when I was Selena's my girl.
It's like, did it have to happen?
But it's pretty good, like from a storyline wise. It's good.
Yeah, well, that's it for now, I guess. We gotta finish this situation when we come back. We've got to see Percy's parents. We've got to probably more jealous Annabeth, knowing her. Lots of good stuff to come. It's been lovely to chat with you both. We've got 17 and 18 next week. It's gonna be a great time. Adios. Hi, you can find us on social media at @DemigodDebutPod. You can also find links to all of our socials in the episode description. And if you enjoy consuming this podcast, consider leaving us a rating or review wherever you're listening. See you next time for the next 2 chapters. Bye!